How's it going? I thought I heard somebody. Welcome, Salvage Workshop. I appreciate that you stopped by. So how are things for you today? I hope things are going well. I see you've met Scuba Steve. Yep. I have a mannequin with scuba gear on. It's true. Anyway, you can take me seriously with this guy right here. We'll dive right into what this video is about. So, the plan is to work on the skid steer. We still had some issues, kind of hard starting, and I think I finally figured it out. We're going to do some maintenance, we're going to do some fluids, we're going to do some repairs. Let's just jump right into it. So check these lights out. So this is called a Lightbar, and it's basically a headlamp. So it's an LED strip that goes across your forehead, and then there's a battery pack on the back. And the hard case has slots for 2 more batteries. So the nice thing as far as the lighting goes, you've got high, medium, and low. And then there's red. I think it's red high, red low. Yeah, just 2 settings of red. So if you're trying to go all covert, maybe you can use the red. And then you just push and hold the button, and it shuts it off. And so real simple, kind of gives you a whole, like, all the way around kind of lighting area when you're working in tight places. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to put it on and try it here. I've got a quick replacement piece we're going to put in the skid steer that should make it start right up. So let's get that done. All right, so I'm sure you could wear it with your hat facing forward. Problem is, then you got all that light that would be blocked by the bill. So put my head on backwards, and then essentially like so. You got the top one is your light. So yeah, kind of what it looks like. Let's give it a shot down there in the engine bay. All right, so here's kind of the engine bay. No lighting other than what's in the shop here. So let's kick the high on the light bar. Wow. See how that actually makes quite a bit of a difference. And the other nice thing is that it's not flickering. Some LED lights, if you don't have them on a certain setting, they flicker. So let's try medium. There. See that? See the flickering? If you don't have bright enough LEDs on camera, you get this flickering. In light, you know, and in person, it's fine. There's no flickering. Let's go to low. That's, yeah. So, if we're going to use it on camera, we're going to use high, which will obviously burn the battery faster, but the nice thing is everywhere I look, as long as I'm facing the camera that way, we're getting the shot. Everybody's been telling me I got to get the glow plugs figured out, and I completely agree. Here's the biggest thing, that with this machine, I never used the glow plugs, not ever. And I thought, oh well, this machine must not even need them. I am actually probably wrong there, because of the fact that, remember how I told you there was a part where at the very beginning started having the hard starting / smoking issue after I pressure washed it? Well, it's very possible that in pressure washing it, the terminal on this glow plug relay broke just while I was washing it. And in doing that, made it extremely hard to start once it started to get cold. When it was warmer out, it was never an issue. I do believe that the smoking issue also was kind of the same time. I think that just happened to be, I hate to say coincidence because I don't believe in them, but, you know, I don't know, the engine was headed that way anyway. So I'm going to show you right now what it's like trying to start it, and then we're going to pop in a brand new one, and we're going to see if that makes any difference on how quickly it starts, or if it starts. So I'm only going to crank on it maybe 10 seconds, and if it doesn't start, we're going to add in this glow plug relay, and then we'll try it then. So let's crank. Nothing. Right here are the 3 wires that came off of that relay. And I cleaned them up, I wire brushed them, I sprayed contact cleaner. They probably still need to be cut and re-spliced as far as like to get all the corrosion. But I want to just try them as it is, see if we get the result we want. So on the old one, I wrote the colors. So we want blue on this one, red on that one, and then you can't really mess this one up because it's a one fitting goes one way, one goes the other way. I did mark it, but it doesn't really matter. So the main two I care about are, let's see here, if I hold it like this one is going to be red, and this one's going to be blue. So we'll have red there, blue there. So, and that's these two wires. Red there, and blue there. And then this little T connector, plug in here and kind of clip in. There we go. So that's in there. This is our old one. That bolt will mount it down below, but at the moment, let's just leave it like that and we'll give it a shot. All right, here we go. Wow. 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 And I did not change the start switch yet. So what that is telling me is that when I turn this, it is already kicking the glow plugs on. And right in there, there is an NGK 12 volt glow plug controller. Did you hear that click? That was the glow plug. So if I turn the key back to off, there it goes. So the glow plug controller is definitely good. That's great. This relay was absolutely our hard starting problem. And obviously the glow plug circuit, we've gone through, we tested. I was going to change out that key switch. I don't think I need to now. I wonder if it smokes much. Look straight through the glass right there. Let's see if it smokes. There's like a little puff of black smoke, but now it's pretty clear. All right, I'm gonna put you guys in the back. I want you to see a little bit better, be able to see if it smokes when we start it. So yeah, just like a little puff of smoke. Awesome. Well, awesome. We got the glow plug situation figured out. It's kind of a big deal because I have started and moved this machine quite a few times, and every time I've had to stick the heat gun down into the air intake, let it sit for a couple minutes, warm it up, and then it would fire up. And it never, ever fired up with that little smoke. It always had a lot more. So I think I should have done that way before now. What do you think? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's been a journey going through this machine. At least now we know the whole fuel system's clean and you know, all the way as good as it can be. Now that we've got that figured out, I'm tired of moving it and running it without an air filter. We need to get that done. It's very important on diesels, on any engine really, but especially diesels. So I think we should just run it. I think we need to get in it, put some hours on it, and really break in that pump and make sure we don't have any additional issues. And after that, we'll start ticking. We'll do oils, we'll do filters, the filter housing. Let's get the air intake put back in. It's got the brand new filters already put in it, so. So, some quick thinking might have actually saved this skid steer's life, because I was just using it here, moving some dirt, kind of getting some of that rock moved, and all of a sudden I start smelling smoke. And I was like, oh crap, what the heck? Smoke was pouring out of the ignition switch, the key. So I turned it to off. Man, I can still smell it. It's so bad. And it was still coming out, still coming out. Then the gauges all started to turn on, even though the key was out of it. And this panel, knowing how your machine works and how it operates and how the pieces that go together, is a huge help in saving something. So a big shout out to this Milwaukee screwdriver that has the attachable Phillips, or the other side's a flathead. Well, so I grabbed this really quick. There's 1, 2, 3 screws that hold this panel in right here. So I undid them there, there, and there. So there was an open flame pouring out of the back of this ignition switch. This wire here is charred. This terminal is just, yep, it's Bluetooth. It went Wi-Fi just now. So it's completely out of there. The switch itself is probably completely smoked and melted. This terminal, it was just flopping. It was glowing red. So, I mean, whatever. Obviously, I got to get a new switch, and then I got to figure out what caused that. And it may literally just be the switch. I bought a bunch of cat-style switches off of eBay in a lot for, I think they were like 50 bucks for like 10 of them. And maybe that's my problem. There's also a fuse right here that should have popped, and maybe it doesn't even work anymore. And then, yeah, obviously I don't want that to happen again, but right at this moment, all we have as far as damage goes is some wires that got a little bit warm, and we completely ruined the start switch. That's fine. So fine. It truly pays to be an Eagle Scout and have some kind of tools with you. I didn't have a Leatherman, otherwise I would have whipped that out probably first, but I wasn't planning on this taking very long, and I wasn't filming any of it. But all of a sudden, boom, we got a little fire, and a little bit of quick thinking instead of freaking out. I did have a fire extinguisher. If it would have gotten any worse, I was going to cut that down, grab it, and just spray it out, but I didn't need to use that. I was able to just open it up and blow the flame out just with my breath, because I think if I had left it that way, contained in there, it would have just kept spreading to the other wires, catching all the coating on fire, and probably ruined the entire dash at minimum. I'm actually kind of glad this happened the way it happened, because now I can figure out what to do to make it so it doesn't ever happen again. And it wasn't that bad. So, looks like one of these lights got disconnected in the jumble. There's another one here. So I'm gonna pull that switch out. I'll show you that switch, but for right now I'm gonna throw a different switch in there so I can get the machine up and moving. I'm gonna leave the dash down so I can kind of watch it and make sure nothing happens. But for now, I just want to give a little shout out to having the right tool. So I don't like this repair, but it's what I got. I have an identical switch to the one that was in it, and we've got these on there. I'm going to find something better. I'm going to find a better way to do this. You know, these terminals are getting a little too close to each other. But all right, let's just see if we can get it to start. There we go. All right, that'll work for right now. All right, it's finally time to address some of the, I guess, main maintenance issues. But before we do that, I want to fix the oil filter housing. So I believe that this had a bracket right there, and I think it mounted right here. This thing has been dangling in here since I bought it, and so it almost fits perfect if it had been mounted just like that, which would make perfect sense in regards to, you know, ease of changing the filter. So we're going to go ahead and do exactly that. I got a new oil filter head that'll fit there, and the lines are long enough to plug right into the back of it. So let's pop this one out real quick. Let's get that bracket out, and I'll show you the new one. Okay, here's our old oil filter housing. You can see where it broke right there. So this is what I found. It is a Wix oil filter housing. Got a couple of these on eBay, and it has the ability, just like the other one, you can change out. So you can have the out on this side or the out on that side, or the in on this side or the in on that side. So the way we need it, and the machines can be mounted like that. So this needs to get mounted like that. So I'm gonna have to make some new holes for it, and it'll change the size of the oil filter, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that. So, made in the USA. I think this is a new old stock one that I found on eBay. There were a couple of them I bought. So, yeah, we'll get the plug swapped over, because we're going to want to plug these two ends and then put the lines so that they are exactly the same kind of hose clamp that'll go on that side. These fittings on that oil filter housing are different, are slightly bigger than the ones that came with this. So, I grabbed my fittings. These are all like barbed hose connections. We'll see if we can find something. Same size. That looks bigger. Those threads look right. Let's see here. Yeah, those threads look right. That's slightly bigger than that one. It looks pretty dang close to that one. So assuming these thread in, we're going to use those. Now we'll just toss these in this little random box of these things. So what I do is anywhere I get a barbed fitting or whatever, I've got a box for it. And so anytime I find an extra one, I'll toss it in this box. And I've got a box for all kinds of hardware like that, which makes it so that a lot of times I don't have to leave to go to the hardware store to get two fittings, because I can just dig through what I've been salvaging throughout the years and what I've been kind of hanging on to and organizing, and find the parts I need And even if it's, for instance, see all these? These were all at the bottom of some box that I got that was completely rusty. All the hardware had basically turned into junk. I haven't cleaned these up yet, but these are all brass. So if I needed one of these fittings, 5 minutes on a wire wheel, a little tiny wire brush, and boom, I've got a fitting and I can use. I'm not going to waste my time doing it now because I don't need that now. I don't have the time to spend cleaning that up, but I did have the time to spend to save it in case I need it later. So I'm pretty organized when it comes to a lot of different things, especially this kind of stuff, because you start getting, if you had to buy all those, we're talking, there might be $500 in individual fittings if you bought them all. And I've got a whole cabinet full of brass fittings, different types, that I'll get 1 here, 2 there, 5 there, 10 there, 2 here, and I'll just kind of stash it away in one spot. And then when I need it, I can dig through it. So that's exactly what we've done here. And now we've got the right size fittings for the hoses that are on the machine. We'll tighten those up some more once we get it on the machine. Might be kind of hard to tell, but right in there, there are some little teeth that are part of the casting that they're just a little bit too rough for me and a little too thin. And the reason they're too thin is that if they break off, they'll go through they'll get caught in the filter, but my thought is just take a die grinder real quick and just knock those down, knock some of these high spots off, and then we'll blow this thing out, clean it out real well. There we go. All right, there we go. All mounted up, ready to go in. So I did not use either of the original holes because they were slightly too far out. I think I probably should have put these in there first. All right, I'm gonna take it apart, put these in there so they're just hanging out, and then we'll go put it in. Bingo. Oil filter goes right there. Rock solid. Man, I can shake the whole machine. Yeah. That's going to work well. Perfect. All right, so here's where it's going to go. All right, I didn't put any oil in it yet because I still wanted to see if I could reach down and grab, because I want to twist the injection pump just slightly. But yeah, that's going to be so much nicer in regards to not having it dangling. Filter is easily accessible. It's right there. Got these two plugged. The other two lines go right down to the engine. So cool. Glad to have that fixed. For those that wonder, there is a safety for this cab, so it latches in. It will not fall on me. I wouldn't put up with it if it was. If it hadn't had that, I would have built something for it. But I appreciate everyone's concern. I promise I'm not going to let the cab crush me. All right, getting the hydraulic filter out. I think we're going to make a little bit of a mess here. All right, new hydraulic filter. My hands are so slippery. There we go. All right, I'm gonna get this the rest of the way in there, and then I'll date it, and we'll move on. All right, so there's our Baldwin number that we used to replace the hydraulic filter. This is a Fleet Guard. It's a good filter. But the last time it was changed was 322. Or that might be an 8. I can't tell. 3, 8, something like that. 22 of 2004. Doesn't really matter. So it's been on there almost 20 years. So we currently have 3,167 hours. So I would say it's overdue based on date and hours. All right, so this oil filter housing here, even though the mount was cracked off, I'm going to get rid of the filter and we're going to keep the housing itself. You never really know. It might be a good, eventually maybe I'll TIG a mount onto it, but at least these two brass fittings are worth keeping. So let's just grab a tool. You know, I ought to get a pan under this. There we go. That is some black oil. All right, now I want to change the engine oil. Finally, we're to that. I'm going to put this filter on after the engine oil change. And the main reason I want to use a different filter first is just in case there are any particles in this filter housing that I didn't get blown out or cleaned out, I want it to get caught in the filter and then we're going to pitch it. The other reason I'm using a sacrificial filter right now is that I really should have gotten the engine completely warm, then done all this, and then immediately changed the oil, or dropped the oil right away, right before I put the housing on. It was not on my mind at that moment. I was just working on that. So the one benefit with this shop is there were a bunch of leftover filters that I had no idea what they went to, and I still don't know without looking each number up. And so I just looked for something with the same threads and something that will seal on this. And so this filter will do that. So I'm going to fill it up with just this really crappy motor oil. It's a Super Triple X SAE 10W40. It has a Corvette on it, so that's got to be good. And it is all year protection. So wow, maybe I should save this. This stuff is probably so good. It's got to be like Mobil One's all year protection. Got to be as good, right? See if we can find a date on it. No idea. Made in the USA. Somewhere. But yeah, this is a triple X, so it's got to be good. So we're going to put that in the filter. We're going to start the engine up, get it nice and hot, then we'll change the filter and change the oil. All right, it's fired up. It's been sitting for a few days. You watch this. I still think at some point we're going to adjust the injection pump slightly one way or the other because it will smoke a slight bit on startup. I'll show you. Here we go. All right, I got it all heated up. All right, we're sitting at just under 180. I watched the thermostat open just past 180. So the engine oil is probably plenty good. Let's drop it. There's a drain hose under here. There it is. Right there, that'll be how we get the oil out of it, assuming it's not all plugged up. But I'm gonna get a pan. All right, I'm gonna turn the valve and hopefully we'll get oil out of this tube here. A little bit of junk in there, but I guess we'll find out. Where'd it go? Come here, you go back. Okay, I figured it out. It was just all gunked up. Should be draining now. Is it? It is. Cool. Definitely pretty black. But so far I don't see any metallic substance in it, so that's great. All right, well that drains down there. Found another, it's leaking coolant. So right in here, there is a leak somewhere. And it looks like it's kind of along the bottom because I don't see it draining down. We might have to pull that radiator out and pinch off a tube or something like that, solder something closed. But for now, we're still cooling and staying cool. Let's keep going with the maintenance and we will get to that very soon. Get this filter off. That housing held well. No leaks. I kept checking it while I was letting it warm up. No leaks around the hydraulic filter housing either. Pre-fill your oil filter, they said. It'll be easy, they said. All right, got the filter pre-filled. So these Napa filters were also here when I started using the shop. And one nice thing about Napa filters are that they are made by Wix. I love Wix filters. I think they make great filters. And so obviously Napa buys theirs or rebrands the Wix filters. Works for me. All right, so I'll get that labeled and then we'll get the engine filled up. Nada. So there's the engine oil. And I don't see any metallic flake in there anywhere. So yeah, that's great. Good sign, good sign. So let's get that refilled. Okay, check it. All right, we are right there, and full is there. So I think I'm gonna run it a little bit, get it all through the system, and then we'll check it again. But pretty close to right on the money. Not sure if you can be pretty close to right on the money, can you? Pretty sure it's right on the money or not. So, yeah, whatever. As you've seen before, this is our injection pump. And there's a little nut holding it there, and a nut holding it on the other end of this contraption. And so the only adjustment that you have timing-wise, and I've got them loosened, is to move this sideways that way or this way, and it's not a lot. Kind of hard to do it one-handed, but see that? There's just a little bit of play. So, let me see if I can. Okay, it's loose. Okay. All right, what I'm gonna do here is I can see the gasket where it should be sitting right like that. Is how it was originally. I adjusted it a little bit when I was trying to get it all running, so we're gonna go slightly towards the engine. All right, let's try that. I'll tighten that one, and I'll go around, I'll tighten that other nut, and we'll give it a shot. All right, let's see if adjusting that injection pump changed anything with regarding to the smoke at startup. I had the throttle all the way up. So now I'm going to go ahead and adjust it all the way the other way. All right, I adjusted it the other way. Let's see what that does, if anything. That definitely did something, just not what I wanted. Yep. So doing that adjusted the timing out enough that it's not spraying at the right time. So we're going to put it back. Okay, one more try. I put it kind of in the middle. Glow plugs came unplugged. That makes sense. Let's try it now. Okay, well, maybe that other adjustment wasn't timing. It might have been the glow plugs weren't plugged in and didn't have them, so we're going to do it again. Now with the glow plugs plugged in, we've gone all the way that way. I think that was a bit smokier, so I'm going to put it back in the middle. There's the seat. There we go. All right, let's get to installing some sound deadening material. Come on, go in your home. I'm gonna put these two lights, and then right above it, I have been excited about getting this seat in. We got a lot done on that little skid steer, but there is a next part to this where we are gonna completely transform the inside of that cab. So, that's going to drop really soon, so if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get the notification on that. If you've already subscribed, thank you very much. As always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate that you stopped by here at Salvage Workshop. Look for that next video coming very soon. You guys have a great one.